Imagine walking through the grand corridors of Buckingham Palace, surrounded by centuries of absolute power, firmly believing that the rules governing the rest of humanity simply do not apply to you. For decades, Prince Andrew existed in exactly this bubble, untouchable, wrapped in layers of royal protection, and insulated by a historic culture of total deference. But fast forward to the present day, and that illusion has shattered into a million pieces. The prince who once stood at the very center of the British monarchy has been systematically pushed to the dark edges of royal life, stripped of his grand estates, and quietly tucked away in a modest, isolated property. He is no longer treated like a senior royal. He is managed like a toxic liability that the institution is desperately trying to contain. Yet, just when the palace thought the bleeding had stopped, an explosive new wave of insider revelations has threatened to tear down what little remains of his reputation. Welcome back to the channel, where we pull back the velvet curtain on history's most guarded institutions to analyze the true mechanics of power, prestige, and institutional collapse. This latest crisis isn't coming from anonymous internet gossip or tabloids chasing a quick headline. It comes directly from Paul Burrell, Princess Diana's former butler, a man who spent years lurking in the shadows of royal households, watching the private behavior of the House of Windsor behind closed doors. What Burrell describes isn't just standard aristocratic arrogance. It is something much deeper, colder, and far more systemic. It is a deeply rooted culture of entitlement where ordinary people allegedly became little more than background furniture in Andrew's world. But it's the timing of these revelations that has sent shockwaves through the palace, because separate, unprecedented reports emerging from the Sandringham estate suggest that the internal revolt has already begun. For the first time in modern memory, palace staff members have allegedly been informed that they are not required to personally serve Prince Andrew if they feel uncomfortable doing so. To understand the gravity of this, you have to understand the fundamental mechanics of the royal household. This is an institution that has operated for centuries on absolute discipline, silence, hierarchy, and loyalty. Staff do not publicly resist senior royals, and they certainly do not refuse duties. For generations, royal employees were expected to endure difficult, volatile personalities with a stiff upper lip and unbreakable discretion. If these reports of staff quietly stepping away from Andrew are even partially accurate, it signals something far worse than public embarrassment. It represents a complete and total collapse of internal confidence around him. Suddenly, Burrell's historical accounts stop sounding like isolated incidents and begin looking like the foundational pieces of a terrifying psychological puzzle. According to the former butler, Andrew's behavior toward palace staff frequently crossed the line from mere impatience into outright hostility. Burrell describes explosive outbursts, aggressive language, and openly humiliating interactions directed at the very employees responsible for keeping his daily life running smoothly. These weren't whispered frustrations or stressful, one-off moments. They were repeated, volatile confrontations that allegedly created an intense atmosphere of fear and resentment. It paints a picture of a man who became so blinded by privilege that ordinary human boundaries stopped existing altogether. But here is the twist that the palace desperately wanted to keep hidden. This wasn't a monster created by the pressures of his later life. Burrell claims these exact behavioral patterns stretch back decades, long before the name Jeffrey Epstein entered the public consciousness, long before the infamous television interviews, and long before his military titles were stripped away. The rot, it seems, was visible as early as the late 1980s, shortly after Andrew married Sarah Ferguson. According to insider accounts, the newlywed couple settled into palace life like two people discovering a luxury hotel with an unlimited corporate credit card. The couple frequently held elaborate, late-night dinners inside their Buckingham Palace apartments, demanding multi-course meals prepared by royal chefs, while household staff were forced to work grueling, exhausting hours deep into the night. We aren't talking about a simple tray of tea and sandwiches. Burrell describes full 3- and 4-course private dinners, complete with desserts and formal service, all demanded on a whim, as though palace employees existed solely to satisfy their midnight whims. Eventually, the situation became so excessive that the staff did the unthinkable. They pushed back. Complaints reportedly bypassed the prince entirely and reached the desk of Queen Elizabeth herself. Burrell believes this unshakable confidence stemmed directly from Andrew's unique position as Queen Elizabeth's rumored favorite child. Royal insiders have long whispered that by the time Andrew was born in 1960, the monarchy had stabilized. Elizabeth was no longer the overwhelmed, young sovereign balancing toddlers with a newly inherited throne. She had more time, more emotional space, and more opportunity to build an indulgent personal bond. Andrew benefited from this dynamic immensely. The Queen rarely denied him anything. Problems were softened, mistakes were managed carefully, and minor crises were quietly contained before they could explode into the public eye. It is the perfect recipe for creating a man who believed that accountability was a concept meant only for ordinary citizens. But then came the moment the institutional shield shattered forever. The infamous BBC Newsnight appearance in 2019 was supposed to be a masterclass in reputation management, a calculated effort to rescue Andrew from the brink. Instead, it became the most catastrophic public relations disaster modern royalty has ever witnessed. The interview didn't just fail, it imploded. His explanations surrounding his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein raised far more terrifying questions than answers. His attempt to justify remaining in contact with a convicted felon shocked millions of viewers, and his bizarre, highly specific medical defenses instantly transformed him into an object of global public ridicule. Within hours of the broadcast, social media erupted in fury. Within days, his corporate partnerships evaporated, and within months, the institution realized that his position was completely untenable. What followed wasn't a dramatic, cinematic exile, but something arguably much colder, a slow, clinical dismantling. His military titles disappeared. His patronages vanished. His public duties were permanently terminated. Even the formal styling of His Royal Highness effectively ceased to exist in official contexts. He was being erased from the front lines of the family firm, one title at a time. This brings us to a critical turning point in the modern monarchy, and we want to hear your thoughts on this shifting dynamic. Do you believe the royal family can ever truly recover its moral authority while continuing to shield its controversial members behind closed doors? Or has the culture of automatic deference vanished forever? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see more deep dive analytical breakdowns into the hidden structures of wealth and power, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. The legal climax arrived in 2022 with a multi-million-dollar civil settlement with Virginia Giuffre. It is crucial to note that Andrew continued to strongly deny all wrongdoing and made absolutely no admission of liability. But in the court of public opinion, the legal nuances didn't matter. The damage was already irreversible.